hold up. All right, here we go. Hold on. All right. Right here. All right. All right. So it's been a while. Oh my God. It's been a while since I've done a live stream. Yep. So we'll get into it. Yep, been traveling. So yeah, I've been on vacation. I'm gonna go on camping next week. So August is just a tough time, honestly. You kids busy, sports, traveling. So I'll just cover some brief stuff from the last 2 weeks and my trip to Florida, which was kind of fun. It was a lot of fun. So this happened. The Crowdstrike. Just imagine me. So this happened. Was it Thursday, Friday morning? I think it was like a Friday a week ago. And I'm at work that Friday. My computer's blue screen of death. So is half my office. Anybody that was logged in is dead. The only people that were saved are the people that had their computer shut off overnight, which some people did. But I had no computer all Friday. I'm watching all the flights get delayed as I'm flying the next day. So I'm like, oh, mother of God, here we go. But I will say flights went on time. It was funny, though, because at the 2 airports I was at, flying down to Orlando, the the non-essential screens that you see at an airport, not the actual ones that are like the boarding, but like the crap ones around, like half of them were still blue screen of death when I was at the airports. So I was like, it was a crapshoot. And apparently it was a Delta. Delta's had a hell of a time. Delta really screwed people. So which ironically now, Delta's the first ones that are going to sue CrowdStrike, I'm seeing. So it's kind of ironic. The first people to throw shots at CrowdStrike are the ones that were the least prepared. So it's kind of funny. They're going to get the first, they're going to get the first shot at lawsuits because they're inept, which is kind of unfair, you'd think, but that's the way our system works. Oh, look, there's Howell. Yes, SoFi lovers unite. What can we say? I should send out the bat signal. Anyways. Okay, hold on. Do it in a minute. So from what I understand, because I was at the airport reading this, found out that it was, or plus the Friday, I was literally sitting at my desk reading a book. It was like one line of code. This is what my IT people said. They're like, it was a line of code, or they did their update right in the middle of the night, like 2 o'clock in the morning. And then I guess they figured it out and pulled it back. So that's why the people with computers shut off that didn't start until the morning didn't get affected. So then they told us everybody in my department, in the government, the whole state, basically, everyone had to have their computers manually fixed. So they couldn't do the over-the-air fix for this. It was like, holy crap. From what I understand from other people, it was the same. There was no over-the-air fix. You had to manually have IT people come in and like fix the line of code that CrowdStrike just screwed up. And I saw on Reddit someone posted what it actually was. It seemed like if that is what the fix was, it was like literally, it was like remove one line of code and then paste in the correct one. So my understanding of this is from my Jesse, basically. Well, some of this. Jesse did a video. If you want to talk to someone that actually does this stuff for a living. So I did link it in my community tab. Someone that knows actually what they're talking about. Go watch this. So I guess he was describing that CrowdStrike had this advantage, I guess, where they pushed updates to customers. So the customer didn't have to like approve this. Like CrowdStrike just pushes updates, which I guess could be beneficial for these software companies because you don't have to have people on your side doing anything. CrowdStrike just takes care of it. So this is from what he was telling me, like this is going to put into question the entire system, you could almost say, in the future. So, will they give how much permissions do you give CrowdStrike in your system now after they did this? And then there are going to be lawsuits and all sorts of stuff. So, I mean, as far as an investment, how because that's the big question, right? How much will CrowdStrike dip? It's the mother of all questions right now. And I saw, man, I saw the vault like when I was out on vacation, I could see a lot of people were buying it right away. The first dip, they're like, "Oh, get in, quality company." Like, but then the dip kept dipping a bit. So I don't know. There's more. I think there's more problems that are going to come about from this. You might want to be careful. This is why I bought a cybersecurity ETF because these companies are volatile. I'm aware of this. So SaaS companies, I just know these are volatile companies, right? A lot of them have rich valuations. So things like this can happen. You have no idea it's coming, right? This stuff happens. This is why my weapon of choice is here for cybersecurity. It's not like it's not like it was safe. There's nothing safe about any of this. It still got hit. So I lost like 6%, I think, the worst day of CrowdStrike's drop, 5 or 6%. So not nearly as bad because it's not 100% CrowdStrike. So this will, I mean, I don't have to do anything. I'm fine. So now we will see. Luckily, all my flights were on time. Didn't affect me actually. So I was pretty happy with that. Other than that, I tried to show some photos, but then I realized all my photos mostly have my kids in them. I'm not showing you my kids. So uh, we're not going to do that. So I did do this was Epcot's around the world. So I did this is Germany. So did I do the round the world? No. I did like half of it, which I guess that's a Disney thing people know. You do around the world where you drink beer at each individual country. There's 12 of them. You're crazy to. I mean, I guess I would try that if I didn't have my kids and my wife with me. Uh, I don't think it'd be that hard. I've done Oktoberfest before. So this is like Germany. They're the Germany section, and there's like a restaurant, and then the beer stand was kind of to my left in the photo. But it's fun. Epcot's fun. I've never gone there, so that was my one request for this vacation. I wanted to go to Epcot, so I did. So the kids got to do Magic Kingdom, and we did Universal too. So let's show you this. This was the room view. So we stayed in a one-bedroom villa, which my friend helped me to get. So I was right next to. I'm sure some of you know where I was. There's a Contemporary Hotel, so I was next to the Contemporary on the monorail loop. So it's interesting because I can't remember a lot of Disney transportation. I don't remember a ton about Disney because I went like probably over 25 years ago. So it was, I'm not a huge Disney person, but I enjoyed myself. And then it was fun. Understanding the first day, we didn't decide to go to any parks. We just kind of wandered around the Disney system. We rode the monorail around. Then we went to the boardwalk. And then if you know Disney, you know all this. And then we went to the Skyliner and we kind of cruised around, just got a feel for what the park had, hit all the free areas. And then we started doing the parks. So that was interesting. So as far as tips, like I put tips, I should change that. I should say like things I learned, I guess, would be if you have a big family, I think you definitely want to get a villa because a villa on the monorail loop because then you can cook food because food will kill you at these places. So even though if your room's a little more money, you go grow. There's a Publix like maybe 10, not even 10 minutes, like 5-10 minutes away. And then I had a rental car, so I was able to go. But they told me they will deliver groceries to people at Disney resorts, no problem. So that can be done. You don't need a rental car. If you're only at Disney, you don't need a rental car, 100%. I only had one because we went to Universal. But big thing, yeah, knowing all the transportation is huge. How to get from place to place. So if you got to figure that stuff out right away. And then if it rains every day, basically in Disney from like 3 to 6, somewhere in there it rains. But also, so this was fun. Let me where's the photo? So I got to meet Fabio. So I'm assuming some of you will see this later. I mean, these were posted in Capital Mindset already. So I've met Chris and I've met Fabio. I don't know who's next. I don't know where I'm going next year vacation yet. So I met Fabio at some fancy steakhouse. So my family was there. It was a lot of fun. So he is real. I can tell you that. I can assure you. So there's that. And then we got, where is it? The steak. That was whiskey sours. I think they were both. And then these are the steaks. So that was fun. Freaking amazing steak. Dry aged ribeyes. Really good. Had fun. We were there for a while. Good restaurant. More no, Norman's. I keep thinking to say Norton's because that was there was Morton's he suggested, which was another idea. So there's that. And then I got to experience the magic that is the Magic Kingdom. So my friend had me change the schedule. I didn't know this, but if you stay at the premier resorts, which I think are just the ones on the monorail loop, if you stay on those, you get Wednesday until they change it. Wednesday, you can stay from closing is at 10 o'clock, from 10 to midnight. You can ride the whole park, and you're the only ones, the premier resort guests, can ride the rides for that 2-hour window. So if you're going to go to Magic Kingdom, go on a Wednesday if you're staying at one of those premier resorts, which, like I said, you'll know if they are. They list them on their website. But then in that 2-hour window, you can hit like 5 to 7 rides. I mean, there's like 5-minute waits, right? You're just ripping through all the rides. So we hit everything basically we wanted to hit in one day. But it's a tough day, man. It's Magic Kingdom was the toughest one. That's a 2-day, I think. The other stuff we did was definitely one day, and you'd be done with it. But I don't appreciate that they have certain rides that you have to use the online pass for, and then you have to pay for if you want to get on like the Guardian ride. If you want to get on the Guardians of the Galaxy ride, you could do virtual queue, which you're not. We tried. It was booked as soon as the clock struck like the times it was open. So they're like, oh, you can buy like individual lightning pass. So for that like 4-minute Guardians ride, it would have cost me like $85, which I think I'm not paying that. So that was kind of a bummer. So Disney, I think, is kind of failing. So that applies to Guardians, Biana, or the Bayou ride, which is the new Splash Mountain, Tron, are affected by that policy. So you can't just go up to them. You won't get in. But other than that, let's see. This was my one thing I really wanted to do, was to go to Universal and hit the Jurassic Park rides and then buy some stuff. So I had a lot of fun with that. The ride's good. It's like a log flume ride. It won't knock your socks off, but then you can get some Jurassic Park. They're going to change a lot of it to Jurassic World. They're kind of like in between. So the one thing I'll say, if you're going to go to Universal, Islands of Adventure is not a full park. Like Islands of Adventure, which is their second park next to Universal Studios, you get it done in half a day. So if you're going to go to Universal for a day or two, get the multi-park pass for whatever days you're at Universal, because honestly, you'll get Islands of Adventure done in from 10 to like 3. And then you could go over to the Universal Studios if you still wanted to stay and do more rides. So definitely get both passes. But it's fun. There's some good rides there. The Harry Potter ride on the Island of Adventure was really good. I thought it was a unique ride, different than the other stuff. Right? It's either like some sort of shaky car with video screens, or it's something like a roller coaster. Is most rides. So the Harry Potter one was different. So Space Mountain had to hit. Space Mountain's always the favorite. So there's Florida. Other than that, yeah, had fun. Came back, no problems. I'll say though, which is funny, when I came back, I rode down to it on Boeing 737s. When I came back, I rode on 2 Airbuses. So it was kind of a different. So you could kind of like feel the difference. I'm telling you, you could feel that an Airbus was a smoother ride, 100%. The takeoff, less turbulence, better seats, the screen, the friggin' media screen that was in front of you. Airbus is so much better in every way than a Boeing. So that's just my opinion. If you want to search for I might search for only Airbus flights next time I fly. I think you can do that in a lot of the travel sites now, but very impressed. Which brings into, I just saw, did this get released today, right? So I just saw this. Yeah, we were today. So they finally picked a CEO. So here we go. Boeing's got their CEO. So he's not an airline executive, which was kind of something I was worried about. He's not, but he's doesn't have experience building planes. So he's not from like Gulfstream or one of the other companies like that actually, or Lockheed Martin. So he is from a basically like a parts supplier company. So he's been part of the aeronautical industry, right? But he doesn't have experience actually building the planes entirely. He was retired, I guess, before this. So he's got decent credentials, better than I had hoped. So does this mean Boeing's got a rough ride ahead of it at this point? If you are willing to hold on to this thing for 5 years, I guess, I don't know, go look at the CEO, wait till he actually puts out like a mission statement. He needs to change the culture of this company completely. So for me, I'd want to see like heads rolling, maybe. I'd like to see maybe he wants to reorg, some sort of change of mission statement of the company. There's a lot to consider if you're going to buy Boeing. It's risky. You see I don't know if the upside is worth the risk. Like, do you think this is going to double from where it is right now in 5 years? I haven't done a deep dive. I don't know how interested I am in buying Boeing and holding it long term. The other stuff, they still have to do the acquisition of the fuselage company, right? Spirit. Is it Spirit or whatever? That fuselage company, it's escaping me. So they don't have the cash, right, to buy that company. They have a lot of debt. So you got to consider, okay, what are they paying or how are they paying for that acquisition? They need to do it though. Quality control alone. They need to get that company back under their banner. But still, they really aren't in a place to do M&A. So that hurts. That's not a great thing. We'll see how they do that. But the orders are there, right? Like the business is there. There's just a parking lot full of people that want their planes and they can't do it. I've said this before. They have like the opposite problem of like every other company in the world. Like they have customers beating down their door and they can't do anything. Every other company in the world is like, pushing people out into the world, begging people to buy their stuff. Like Boeing's the opposite. So, and then you think, oh, Airbus will steal a lot of their business. I'm like, I don't see Airbus doing huge expansions. There's nothing to indicate, or Airbus is trying to take advantage of this and do new facilities. They seem to just be content with their huge backlogs, which they're a French company. I don't really have anything else to tell you. If it was a US company, if Airbus was a US company, well, maybe they'd be in trouble like Boeing. You'd imagine they would be trying to expand as fast as they could right now to take advantage of the situation. So the only other thing I can think of, if you wanted to look into like aircraft part suppliers, I think a lot of those companies have already run up that I've looked at. So a lot of these military companies you'll find are like 50-50 businesses. So a lot of them are defense contractors. Like 50% will be like defense contractor, and then 50% like is some other type of business, like commercialized. And a lot of these are like defense companies that also do, aviation supplies to the major airlines. Those companies have done really well in the last like year. You could look because I think this is going to be a running issue. Still, like they're going to have to keep planes in the fleet longer than they want, which means more repairs, more parts, more downtime. So those are probably done. I have GE. I think I like the value of that company, and I think they're going to do good things with their engines. So we'll see. Okay. We already talked about that. I don't want to talk about that yet. All right, Tesla, because I miss Tesla. So I was just going to look at it really quickly. Don't kill me on this. I know it's last week's news and you all want to talk about Meta. So I know the stock got really punished. So nothing's changed. Nothing has changed. From the run up that it did from like 150 all the way to like 260, the whole exuberance of that, like it's still nothing has changed with this company. They're telling you that they're going to have robots in people's houses and well, actually that was like last year, right? Optimus was going to be in everyone's house, but now they're really pushing the robo-taxi narrative. It's funny how, and then there was a time where they were talking about AI all the time. They just rotate whatever thesis they want to talk about. Doesn't matter. It's the same problem. Like there's no revenue attached to any of these pie in the sky ideas. Zero revenue. It's costing them money to develop and spend the capex on all this stuff. At the same time, they're competing with automotive companies, which means you have to redesign your cars, right? And you have to sell cars, and they don't have franchises. So if they don't sell the cars and they have a backlog, they have to hold that inventory. They don't have franchises to hold that inventory for them, which lowers the risk for the manufacturers. So the thesis is still the same. Their sales, their automotive sales are not growing anymore. I think some the slight improvement in margins. You got really good growth in the energy business. Great. That's the one, they should really lean into that. I think I've continued to say that this is where they should lean into energy generation storage, not the Optimus stuff and not the robo-taxi. The robo-taxi is a pipe dream. You're not getting robo-taxis through regulation. Like you're just not. It's not a federal issue. Your Department of Motor Vehicles is a state-run organization, so you got to get 50 states to agree to this. The feds don't get. This is not part of the federal government. The Department of Transportation has its own mission, like basically highways and stuff. But like regulating drivers and vehicles is your state. So all these states have to agree to allow this robo-taxi network. And again, I've said robo-taxi, no driver, right? As of right now, there is no robo-taxi. You have to be in the driver's seat. It's like assisted driving is the way they allow it. It's just enhanced or assisted driving. That's all this stuff is. You still have to be ready to take over the vehicle at a moment's notice. So this isn't new. So you're telling me we're going to make this giant Herculean leap from that where we sit today within, I don't know, you tell me a timeline, 1, 2, 3 years. We're going to go from that where you can go find plenty of evidence. These things have to be taken over quite a bit. They keep doing updates and a lot of problems. They hit curbs. They try and merge into people's cars. You can see lots of FSD problems. It's not ready for prime time. The safety, a lot of people, this stuff is safer than normal drivers. Where's the outside independent data? Because a lot of the data on the safety of these systems is from Tesla. I don't think it's been independently verified. The few things I could find that were external data, which was like from National Highway Transportation Board, they did some studies because they got complaints about, honestly, like FSD and enhanced driving. So they did their own studies. Teslas did not perform well as far as accidents. They were one of the worst in what I could find. So this is not ready. I think you're living in a pipe dream, and the valuation reflects people thinking this stuff's going to happen. But people like, the government will create regulations for this because that's what I get when I talk to these people. They're just like, because they'll figure it out. Government doesn't have to do any of this. Government's not here to be efficient. It's here to protect the public, right? To serve the public good. I laugh when I think of that. I think this whole concept is way further off than you think. You're saying 1 or 2 years to me, probably, and yelling at me. I think we're a decade from this stuff being conceivable and applied mass market to consumers. The concept, I just don't even see the way that the robo-taxi idea using cameras, not using any sort of radar. I don't see how that's the way. Waymo would make, to me, that makes more sense to some degree. The Waymo system involves lots of different sensors. uh, better safety record at this point. I think you're going to have small applications of specific robotaxi car vehicles, not like your car you're driving, like a Tesla, but like specifically built robotaxis in cities that are pre-mapped, I think. So that would imply not artificial intelligence. It would be like preloaded. Um, I don't understand why that wouldn't be the first application of this, but the reason's probably because it's just so expensive. It's not. Uh, it wouldn't work at this point. And is there demand for that, anyways? So we'll see. But it hasn't changed. It's the same. The Tesla people believe all these things are working. If all these ideas don't work out, you have a car company that's not growing, and maybe they can stabilize or slightly improve margins at this point. That's about it. So you can see, I mean, revenues on autos. I mean, we're like capped on this stuff. And it doesn't. They always want to cite like they'll say, "Oh, Tesla's the only profitable electric company." It's like, well, let's talk about cars. Don't just talk about EV companies, because there's not just Rivian and Lucid and Tesla. Like, there's other automotive companies around the world, right? And they make cars that move people. So it's kind of a pointless circular argument at this point. Either I'm right or they're right. Um, so next point I noticed. So we got some comments. I didn't think I'd have a lot of people because I really didn't put this up anytime earlier. Who takes the liability? That's stuff that has to get worked out, right? Like who is liable for the car? Because right now it's easy. You are still the driver of that car. When you're in your Tesla and you push the button to tell it to go somewhere and you put your hands like this, you're still legally in charge of the car. Everything says you're responsible for the car. It's just an assisted driving system. You have to take over at a moment's notice. So it's not changed the responsibility. Nothing's changed. Uh, so now you talked about, okay, like there were small like demos of the technology where there wasn't a driver, but they were very specific agreements between like some of these companies and a very specific city, right? Where they could have ironed some of this out, because it would have been on such a small scale. They could have ironed out who's legally responsible for this stuff. But there were problems with that also. There was a person hit and dragged. Was it Austin or San Francisco? It was GM's the Cruise. They were allowed to not have a driver, and then one of the cars hit a person and dragged them. So then the city's like, no, we're done with that. One incident's too many. You're putting drivers back in the seats. And then you even found out, to make that system work, there was like 6 people on the back end to actually have every car out there that was autonomous. There was a whole bunch of engineers behind the scenes making sure it happened. So all that to replace like a taxi or an Uber driver. But we'll see. Then what else did I miss? Tech dying. Was kind of a joke. There was. I saw this story when I came back. Let's go here. Hold on a second. So you have this story. So there was this like tech sell-off this week, right? Everyone's like, tech is over, rotation, the AI's done, blah, blah, all that shit. So you had this story. This came out, I think it was the end of last week, that OpenAI reportedly is losing crap loads of money, right? So last year they raised all the money in the world. Nobody even knew if they were profitable, but didn't matter. They could raise all the money. Everybody's throwing money at them earlier this year. So now first story comes out, was like, hey, they don't make money and they're burning crazy amounts of money reportedly on this product. Like, is this hugely surprising to people? Maybe not, but it did. But this is like the first story like this that I've seen on major publications. I think this started kind of scaring people. The dates don't specifically correlate, right? But who knows if this is a causation? Is this a correlation? They just happened at the same time. I don't know. But you had this story, and then obviously Microsoft earnings, their cloud business didn't grow as much as the market wanted, which scared people even more. So they're like, oh my God, here's 2 pieces of data. AI is dead. It's all over. Well, that's all we need. I just like, okay. I've said before, .com and AI They're not, well, this isn't a bubble, I don't think, because these companies are profitable cash generating companies. Uh, Gary, like when we talked to Gary Gordon about SoFi, he even said there were companies that increased their valuation just by having a website, right? Even if they didn't do anything, they get a website and all of a sudden their valuation doubled, right? That's a bubble. Makes no sense. But these are real companies. There's some shit, but like a lot of these are real companies that produce real products and real cash flow with this AI. So the question is not if it's I don't think it's a bubble. I mean, the implication is more, when does the music stop on these companies dumping money into GPUs and upgrading their data centers? When does the music stop? I don't think it's a bubble, but you could see some sharp downtrends. People might get a little scared, which, because people are kind of anticipating this will happen. Uh, but we'll see. So far, it's just not there. I mean, these orders are still coming in. I think this thesis is this year and next year from everything I've seen. So I still have Micron stock. I still am buying AMD. I don't think it's over. There's going to be volatility for sure. Oh, where's the story? Friggin' yeah, Lisa Su. I love it. AMD, just when everyone thinks the sky's falling, right? Microsoft got like, it got kind of crunched after hours, like 6%. Everyone's like, oh my God, what's going on? And then AMD comes out and they're like, yeah, we've like doubled our data center business in a year. Eat it. So they did really well. And then I know someone's going to tell me NVIDIA did even better today. Fine. Fair enough. I wish I bought NVIDIA at 103. I don't know what to tell you, but I picked my player and I'm sticking with it. But I've said these companies, man, you got to be ready for these up and down with these AI companies. That's why I'm just kind of buying little bits every week. No big tranche purchases with something like this, because my buddy does that, and then it dips all of a sudden, and he freaks out or something, and then it's like, nope, not doing that. I believe in Lisa Su, and I think AMD can nibble away more at Intel, and I think they can keep kind of chipping away, and they can be a better number two. If you think they're going to be number one, I don't agree with that. NVIDIA's still the number one dog. AMD, I think, can chip away at them a bit. And there's rumors of PS5 Pro, which is a newer AMD chip. So their gaming segment has been slacking because there hasn't been any new systems released in some time. So gaming is cyclical. If they announce a PS5 Pro for Christmas this year, which not confirmed as of today, promising, I guess we'll see. So I'm venturing more into tech, you could say. So, yeah, and it looked like Microsoft recovered. I'm not so concerned. You looked at, I haven't heard anybody pulling back on orders. Micron sold out this year. They're sold out almost entirely. I think they are sold out next year. So, but that doesn't mean the market doesn't do its own thing. So I did buy a little more Micron when it touched down near 100. So I don't have any options on it though anymore. Those are gone. McDonald's. Okay. I didn't put this in the thumbnail. Let me get rid of the Tesla stuff. Let's see if any questions. I just hate like any comments, let's say. Never destroy the internet on a Friday, for real. My computer was back up and running when I got back, which was great. Voyage to learn Fabio is an AI. There's always a joke that Fabio's going to create an AI of himself so he doesn't have to be bothered running his Discord. It's kind of funny. My Lockheed Martin shares are up massively. Buy my course. Ooh, wait. How's my Lockheed doing? This week's been a whirlwind, trying to get back to swing of things with work and kids. Oh, yeah. All right. Not bad. Oh, man. I wonder if it's finally time to sell this. I've held it for a long time. I don't know. That's for another day. So the only thing I want to say about McDonald's, like, I've seen a lot of people on the internet talking about McDonald's as someone that's held it for a long time. You can't, your entire portfolio you cannot be bullish on your entire portfolio and call yourself a long-term investor. That doesn't make sense. Companies go through bad times. So that would imply to me that when a company goes through a bad time, you become bearish, you sell it. You can't possibly be a long-term investor like 20 years if every stock you own, you're bullish in at all times. That makes no sense. Companies have downtimes, right? Macro events slap companies in the face. They get bad CEOs sometimes. Things can happen. Do you believe in the core? Or is there a reason why you own the company? Like for McDonald's, it's like the structure of their business is one of the most bulletproof structures ever created by mankind. Their franchise system, specifically theirs, is beautiful business. It's bulletproof, and I think I see no reason, good or bad times. I held it through the Ukraine invasions. I bought that was the last time I bought it. But when they lost two whole countries of business, right? So I'm sure some people sold it, and then it had they afterwards did great. They made adjustments to their business, and that it's a worldwide business. I think their management does an excellent job. But like, where did he talk about it? Let me think. It was this or After Dark. Let me look. I think it was his other one. Hold on. Should be here. Did he do another video? Oh, is it? Hold on. McDonald's. Like, as soon as they have a missed, so same store sales go down, which hasn't happened in years, right? They have a little, they miss top and bottom, same store sales, so triple loss, right? And everyone, oh, their business is questionable. All this shit I heard on McDonald's. I'm like, all of the stuff that they are doom and glooming about McDonald's is all short term narrative, all of it. And it's just clown country to me. And he's not the only one. I like Joseph, but like comparing, like, if you're going to compare this to like Starbucks or Chipotle, they're different businesses structurally. It's not really great comparison. You could take some of the comparison, but I wouldn't compare them, apples to apples. So it's just weird. And as soon as they have one bad quarter, so we're long-term investors, company has one bad quarter and we bail on them. Like, this is what we're doing. So this tells me, like, and he doesn't own McDonald's, but there's people that were like freaking out, and they've performed admirably in some really terrible conditions the last few years. All right. Their business is getting really hurt in the Middle East. So you can look, international operations are not doing well. So think about it. They had to leave Russia. They had to leave Ukraine. The wars in the Middle East are affecting their business in Israel and Gaza Strip, and they might get worse for the next few years. So no doubt they're having problems. These problems are not brought upon by their own action. These are brought upon by the environment they live in. So your assessment should not be the macro events that are attacking McDonald's. I think if you're going to look at this company, do you think the management can navigate these problems? Plus inflation issues with the food, right? People are saying it's too expensive. So I kind of annoys me. And a lot of the negativity is just short-term stuff. 2 years from now, all those problems that they address could be gone. And they could admirably go through this. Think about when Russia invaded Ukraine, they shut down both those countries. That was a significant portion of their worldwide revenue of McDonald's. I could argue that was a worse earnings than this. And the stock got pulverized down to like 220. And if you believed in management and you bought it at that point, like I did, you were rewarded. You could have sold at 300, I guess, but I still have it, but it's more than 220. So that's one thing I'd like to poke out. Like, if you really believe in a company, you believe in it. All right. You can't say you're bullish on every stock you own. Then you're a swing trader. That's what you are. If you are bullish on everything in your portfolio, you're a swing trader, because you're not going to hold anything for more than a few years before something happens to that company. And then you're going to bail on it because you don't like it. They miss an earnings or something. But not every company can recover. That's for you to investigate and figure out if there's actually something there. I bought a company that had a bad quarter. I don't know what the stock price is since I came back from vacation. Okay. So this HVAC company had a bad quarter last quarter. It was the first bad quarter they've had in years. Sounds familiar, right? I look at their core business. Their core business is growing. They're just having short-term macro issues where companies are holding off on orders right now, but the thesis is still there. And I did it, and it recovered way faster than I thought it would. I thought I had more shots at buying it. I still think they might have some pain this year. So I think I might get another crack at it in the 70s. But I just, people, as an investor, you got to, a lot of these YouTubers are just going to they do the earnings, they do this, they slap a cheap, shitty valuation, or they do this like really quick assessment of the business on one earnings, and then they move on. And there's their content. It's easy to make. It gets views from you guys, because how many of you want to know what Meta did? You're probably searching for Meta videos right now. Look, Paul did a Meta video, right? It's easy to do. 10 minutes. You just talk about the random stuff on Meta's earnings, and then you say you like it or don't like it. But okay, what's the bigger picture of the company? So these McDonald's videos, like, shame on you people. That's all I'm gonna say. Shame on you. And Starbucks is not McDonald's. Okay. Starbucks has not proven they can navigate difficult times. They really haven't. It's been pretty good for Starbucks for a long time, but now they're in a rough place, right? So they're in a similar place to McDonald's, and we'll see who can navigate it. I think structurally, McDonald's had an advantage because they always have the advantage. So Starbucks is dealing with, I think, more issues, but we'll see in a year, I guess, who's better off. I go full throttle, my one truck, and they take that as disrespect. All we need is one FSD death not to be settled by Tesla, and finally get it figured out. There are lawsuits in some states regarding FSD deaths and injuries. They're working their way through the court systems. So I've seen a few of them in Florida. I think Florida and California have some that I've seen. And Tesla is going to either have to go through discovery, where, honestly, I don't think they want to go through discovery. There's going to be stuff that comes out that they don't want to come out. So if they start settling all these, like, you need to pay attention. That's concerning. If they just start settling all these lawsuits, something tells me, they don't want fishing expeditions on their systems. You're a bear, you must be short. I could say this right now, I would never short Tesla. Unequivocally. I don't short meme stocks. So 100% would never short it. I don't care if it ran to $600. I still wouldn't. You short the future. I pick I have good investments in the future. They're just air conditioners and semi-fab equipment, stuff like that. So I pick my battles. Hedgies are fooked. It ain't over till it's Jover. Very true. You need another channel where you talk about your capitalist views. You'll be rich. Everyone is going right wing now. I mean, for real. Everyone, yeah. I vote every year. I just don't really talk politics much. Let's see. Paper Hand JC. He got, I know he got some shit because he sold Chipotle before it just ripped. I've said this before. Joseph's job as an investor is not to get obliterated, right? At this point in his career, he has a successful software subscription service, and he has 2 successful YouTube video channels. His goal is not the same as you or me. You and me are trying to make money long-term, compounding our gains in the market. He's trying not to get obliterated, because that would look bad for his subscriptions, because that would not play well, right? If he's an investing channel, how dare you buy something like Dexcom that gets completely annihilated? So I think his goals are not the same as yours at this point. So I don't think it doesn't matter if he beats the market or not. It's not the game he's in. He buys quality compounding companies so that he doesn't get what happened to Dexcom. This would be bad for his business if he had a big $100,000 investment in Dexcom and it got wrecked. That wouldn't look good. So he's just trying to avoid stuff like this. That's why he owns like Apple and, big quality companies, which good for him. Hope he does well. He's good. Like, of all the big YouTubers, he will get you to the promised land. Not as good as indexes probably, but let's see. MC McDonald's is a great business, but I question how much more growth they can squeeze. Yeah, for real. Revenue is flat, and they've managed to improve margins and do buybacks, but they are running out of growth levers. Well, they're going to try to do this McCosmos thing. So if McCosmos works out, that's a new business for them because then they could start eating away at the coffee business, right? They tried in the past, it didn't work. Uh, McCafe in America didn't work. Internationally, I've been told it had some success still, but in the US, McCafe didn't work. There's freaking the corpses of McCafes all around me in New England. So McCosmos, if that works, so they could start having, instead of McDonald's, maybe they start franchising new restaurants and they're like a franchise holding company. It has its risks to do something like that. So they're trying, but yeah, this is a very, very mature company. I mean, you can look, okay, Chipotle is not a mature company at all. Like, so you got more upside potentially. If that style, we don't know if Chipotle has long term, will people stick with Chipotle or people get tired of it and move on? People won't get tired of McDonald's. McDonald's is eternal, but yeah, it's not growing particularly well anymore. But like, let's face, in the next few years, we can pray, like, hopefully peace on earth, I guess, and they could get back into those places that they've been affected by because of wars, and that would help them do some growth. McCosmos could be kind of a success. They could do well, take some share from in the coffee business. Do I think a 20-year-old should buy McDonald's? I think you should have a really big discount. If you're going to buy something like this, you need a huge discount. You need something like the Ukraine invasion. That's the time you buy a company like this. To me, you buy them when they get really, really hurt. You need to find events where macro smacks these companies in the face, these mature companies, but you still believe in the structure of the business and the management team to get through it. Those are the times to buy these companies. They're not growing, not particularly fast. So, and you don't have to buy these types of companies anyways. It's tough. You could just buy the market and then look for growth opportunities. Wink, wink back. I mean, there's other restaurants that are growing faster, like I said, Chipotle, Cava, stuff like that. I can tell you, Wendy's is, I don't want to hear people say Wendy's, Burger King. I don't give a. Their businesses suck compared to McDonald's. It's a shittier business. There's nothing there that would even. I don't understand why anybody would buy Wendy's stock. I mean, I guess unless you're swing trading it. All right. Oh, SoFi. Who is the guy that talked about SoFi? Okay, hold on. Let me pull a. I had a back and forth with this guy about SoFi's earnings, and I saved, or not this one. Where is it? This was the one. I saved this on my phone because I love, this is like the heart of these people, because I always go at them. I'm like, SoFi's a bank. It's a bank, right? You're valuing it. So you could value it as an expensive bank. And I don't see how you get to like a $15, $20, $50 valuation as an expensive bank. So a bank that has some interesting pieces, that's what I would call it. Not great, but I got down to the core of what he thinks. You all, if you follow SoFi, you know who this guy is. I kind of go at him every once in a while, but I think SoFi should be valued along the lines of other fintechs. I mean, in the end, again, this is like same with the Tesla, right? Either I'm right and all these projects are a crap show, or they're right. This is a binary discussion. Also, if SoFi gets valued as a fintech, then yeah, these people will be rewarded. If it's valued as a bank, you're not going to see much of a return from where it is now. But he thinks SoFi should be valued like Robinhood, which is not a bank. Okay, it's a brokerage. Affirm, it's not a bank. Upstart, it's not a bank. Coinbase is definitely not a bank and is a crypto company. And New, okay, now we have a bank, but New grows faster than SoFi. In a more interesting part of the world, you could argue. Like it's a binary decision. Either you believe that or you believe what I believe and people I know, that SoFi is a bank. It gets lots of views. They were also happy to say it was a triple beat, which they had a triple beat, and then they raised guidance. They raised guidance by like a penny per share. like in the foreseeable future. Like earnings per share, like it was like 8 cents and then it became 9 cents. It's like, okay, raised guidance is kind of uh, you're kind of like, yes, technically raised guidance, but a penny. Come on, that's not substantial enough in this case to take the risk of carrying all these personal loans. So, and I briefly looked at the financials, but it's the same problem. Like the financial segments, the revenue's growing, but the profits are like pathetic for the fintech or for the technology part of their business. Nothing's changed for this investment either. So the SoFi thesis, you could like the institutional ownership is kind of blah and quite a bit of shorting actually. The like last time I looked at it, SoFi is more similar to Ally than any other. Yeah, I would say that's probably the most apt comparison, right? Online bank, no physical presence. You can't compare this to like JP Morgan or Bank of America. That's what I would look at. Obviously, their loan books are different. So, and they have different reasons they would do good or not. But we will continue to watch the SoFi people. If you want to put 5-10% of your portfolio in SoFi, I got no problem with that. But these people are not doing that. They're like 70, 100% SoFi. And they've been bag holding this stock. And you can see like the comments are like, people are like, this is such a piece of garbage stock. You see those comments growing and growing and growing. People are tired because tech has done amazing. They've missed out on all the opportunities of technology in the market by holding this thing. This has been a bull market, an amazing bull market for growth companies and AI and data centers and HVAC companies, even like amazing. This market's been amazing since 2023, and they've like captured none of it. And like, I would be so pissed if I was holding this significant bag on this. And most of them are bag holding, but they will tell you they bought it and they still are green. They always say that. They always say they bought it at like whatever the lowest price was here, the $6. Sure. But this has been an amazing growth market, and you've gotten none of it because you bought a bank that sells personal loans. Whoop-de-doo. Anyways, and I doubt they're going to make much headway when they start going after parts of the banking industry that the big banks care about. That would be a bullish thesis if I was going to look at SoFi. The parts of like banking that like JP Morgan's and Bank of America's are very interested, and Wells Fargo are very interested in. Can they grow in those segments competitively? That would be a bullish thesis. So can they grow their credit card business? Can they grow their home loan business? Can they grow those? Student loans is not a growth driver. Go look at the data. The student population is going down, right? In America, they're closing colleges all over New York. I see it. So that's not a growth driver. So if they could grow into something that would be competitive, that's kind of impressive. Personal loans, no. I don't care how supposedly quality the personal loan book gets. It's still non-collateralized loans, which carry a risk at all times. So, I think I'm pretty close. Okay, I don't want to play this. I'm getting to an hour. Okay, so I'll link this in the I'll link this in the details. So I listened to this while I was working on my mowing the lawn. So I put it at 2:30. You can listen to the whole thing. It's very interesting how Visa came about. So interesting. Basically, one man put it together. It's an interesting story. I really thought it was good. I've listened to Lockheed Martin and I've listened to Porsche, and then this was the third one. If you want to start at 2 hours and 30 minutes, he goes for about 15 minutes. And I talk about risk a lot with investing, right? Risk adjusted return. You take on the risk of an investment. Is the upside worth the risk you take on that investment? Which is a very Peter Lynch kind of, I think, way of looking at investing. So they talk about at this part in the video, they talk about the business. They cover in the first half as like, how did Visa come about? And then the second half, they kind of talk about like the actual business of credit cards. But at this point, 2 hours, 30 minutes, for about 15 minutes, they talk about how the fees are determined. for credit cards. Who gets what piece of the fees that come with these credit cards? So it's five. There's five like parties to these things. They'll explain it in the podcast, but it helps you understand risk. So this, these are 50, 60-year-old systems. So it's been very well litigated at this point. They've gone through monopoly laws, legal issues. The government's gotten involved. So this is very well established law and agreements. Basically, the risk attached to each party determines what their cut of the fees are. So it's a good way to understand risk. That's just how these systems developed over time. The party that had more of the risk got more, like a bigger cut of the pie of the fees collected on credit card transactions. So that didn't just happen by circumstance. That came out many, many, many years of probably litigation and fighting between different banks and Visa and the government. So it helps understand risk, right? The party that takes the credit risk gets the bigger chunk, where if the person slides the credit card and defaults, who's responsible? That person gets the bigger piece, right? Visa gets a smaller cut because they're not on the hook for that. They just process the transaction, so they get the smallest cut. Oh, I thought it was useful to understand this part. I want to play this part. This will be the last thing. Okay, let me play this part. I've never heard this before. I know who this guy is. I've never heard this subject. I don't want to. You can just listen to it. I'm not going to spoil it. So it starts about here. It runs for a few minutes.
I think that's a pretty good explanation for, like, a universal explanation for why market prices move every day. Like, why is there movement every day in the market? Because people are continuously being surprised by this development or that. I think that's a pretty good frame through which to view market activity. But what did you want to talk about in terms of the power of surprise this week?
Yeah, the point behind that observation was, as you said, that things move around because unexpected things happen. And as you frame your own view of the market, whether you're a trader or a shorter term investor, like maybe a year, or a very long term investor, the fundamental nature of the work that you do has to be different. So if you're a trader, like I was at SAC, working for Steve Cohen, and my entire process was to fill out a book every single day of every possible event that could affect my stocks, and then grade them sort of 1 to 5 as to how much impact they might have, and to see like every single possible event that could happen over the next day that would affect the stock in a surprising way. Even if it's surprise is a quarter point, it's still a surprise and you make money
Right.
on that trade. If you're a longer term investor, say you want to own a stock for 1 or 2 years, you've got to think about surprises that are going to happen over 2 to 3 quarters. So what are earnings like? Look, Peter Lynch made his name in the 80s by basically having a team of analysts call every company he owned and say, how's the quarter? How's the quarter? How's the quarter? Every single month, as long as he owned the stock. That's how he figured out surprise. If you are a very long-term investor, like your investment horizon's 10, 20 years, you've got to be looking for regions and sectors that can consistently surprise to the upside. And that's why the US equity markets work better than the rest of the world. We have more innovation, therefore more positive surprise. And the technology sector has been the best performing sector for the last decade by far, because the power of human ingenuity leveraged through Moore's law basically creates a lot of upside surprise. So no matter what kind of investor you are, surprise is the thing you're looking for. But you got to think about it in terms of, okay, what's my workflow look like to capture those surprises more than the next guy?
I have so many follow-up questions.
So I never, when I was listening to this, my thought was, holy shit, this is like, I think I'm like 90% of that. And I never even knew it, but I guess I'm a surprise investor. I don't know. A lot of what he says is what I've kind of always taken to heart. Obviously, I didn't know you called it a surprise, but and I've probably talked about this before, like HVAC companies, right? I am so bullish on them because I believe that their upside, like the total addressable market and the continuing decarbonization of the world, will provide bigger markets, more opportunity, more incentives by the government, better regulations to push companies towards these systems like heat pumps. So basically, yeah, I'm an investor in surprises, right? So I bought Carrier hoping that they would push into heat pumps and air conditioning more and sell some of their crappier, unprofitable businesses, which I knew that when I bought it. And then they bought a European HVAC company and they're like all in on heat pumps in the future. So there's surprise, right? But I already knew like the upside. I think the surprises will benefit me in a business like that, right? The business is getting bigger. The future is brighter for that company. So I guess you could argue surprise. Interesting. So, and it's interesting, like he talked about, it's a different analysis, right? If you're swing trading it or long term. If you're long term, you're still doing an analysis, right? But it's different analysis. And that's why, like I mentioned, like the McDonald's people, like the McDonald's analysis I heard this week was just hot garbage. Like that would only be applicable if you were swing trading McDonald's, from what a lot of these people were crying about. But if you're going to buy McDonald's and tell me you hold it for like a decade or two, you should be focused on problems and questions about an investment of 10 to 20 year horizon, which is not what these YouTubers are talking about. So I kind of like that. Interesting term, surprise. I don't know if there's a book on it, but I'll probably look into it. Oh wait, what do you say? So if I have two versions, student and personal. Yep. And that is it. Wow, we got to an hour. I didn't think I'd get to an hour. So we are there. So anyways, thanks for watching. This month's just tough for me. I don't know. I could probably get more into the swing of things when we get to September, but lots of like I try and travel as much as I possibly can in the summers because winters suck in New York. I got the last week of June until Labor Day. Like that's your time to shine, right? So I make the most of it. Like I'll be gone for probably 3 weeks next summer. I'm planning 3 beach trips. So, that reminds me. Okay. I know I should do this. So, like last video, I covered investments that I've talked about on this channel from about September last year to present. So you can go back and watch the last video. I covered most of them. Like I tried to stick to stuff where I've made videos so you could see what I said during the video and reflect on it. There were 3 that I totally forgot about. So I talked about AMD already. So I talked about, like, I'm just doing little buys every week. I believe in a lot of it's just belief in Lisa Su, and I think they can expand their business and be a bigger number 2. And take more Intel share. I think they're going to keep taking Intel's share in a lot of ways. So I don't have a video specifically of that, so we'll just move on. BTI, I don't have a video of this either. I just didn't get around to it. I don't really do specific videos on stocks sometimes. So I've talked about it here in Capital Mindset. I bought like $100,000 of BTI because I wanted vacation money primarily, which is kind of why I didn't do a video. It wasn't like a traditional investment where you're trying to compound your return, right? It's not a traditional investment. I wanted to use the yield on cost at the time I bought it was 15%. So I calculated that would give me enough money to do like 2 really good beach vacations. And I think there's upside. So I thought I'd get both. So yield maxers, eat your heart out. But so basically I think, I don't know, it might have been Strongman. I found out about the RJ Reynolds impairment, which happened earlier than when I actually invested. So I knew the RJ Reynolds impairment happened to BTI, which was a lot. There was some risk to that because at the time there was concerns about menthol being banned, right? So there was that concern. There were some other problems with the RJ Reynolds business. It was not a great acquisition for them. They probably wish they could turn it back. So they just said, you know what, we're just going to cut it. So they impaired the whole damn thing, and the stock, got hit. So now it's on my radar. Maybe I should hold on. Let me pull up a screen. Should I have done a video on this? Probably. But like, as you, a 20-year-old, should you have bought this? I didn't think so at the time. It was not like a compounding type investment. So So after the impairment, and then I started looking more into it. I've always had a cigarette company, right? I've had Alto, I had Philip Morris, I had a small, teeny amount of BTI recently. But the impairment I thought was interesting. I talked to somebody about their debt load um, that is not around anymore, unfortunately. But I looked at their debt situation because that was the other big concern was their debt. So their debt it's a lot, but they were paying it down. And I looked at it and I'm like, they don't have debt in just one country. This is a truly international company. They have debt spread around everywhere if you look at their filings. So I thought a company like that would be able to navigate uh, the interest rate problems we've had in the world with inflation because they had access to capital markets in different parts of the world. So I thought that would be an advantage to them in navigating these situations. So here's a surprise. Now, what was not part of my investment thesis, so this is the surprise, partially. So, and I know Fabio saw about huge share buybacks, which I don't think, from my understanding, they can't do massive share buybacks. They're restricted from that by British law. Don't know for sure. But the surprise for me is their the oral business. So the nicotine pills, their sales seem pretty good for that, and it's growing. And that's another reason Philip Morris has performed, because they have Zyn. Zyn is sold very well. The other thing that is important to think about, those oral tablets have less nicotine than a cigarette. So actually, when you trade a cigarette for these pills, you have to consume more product for the same content of nicotine. Is what I'm thinking. So that was the surprise. And they're continuing to perform well and navigate this difficult situation. European interest rates are down, right? This company can navigate that. They have the ability to move debts around if needed. So I felt good about it. So I bought it around like 29. It was the second drop. It was about here. Because I thought as soon as it got under 30, now it's like screaming at me, right? So I'm interested, and then the price got to where, okay, it's where I wanted to be, something in the 20s. So I went at it, and it's been amazing. And a lot of people, I'm not alone. There's a lot of other people that have done this investment and have done spectacular. And I've seen there's people with like 25% returns like that in the community. And I'm so happy to see those people. They did amazing. I'm very happy for them. So that was it's not like a traditional investment for me, which is why I didn't do a video on it. That was about it. But yeah, I mean, I think, call me crazy. I said this when it was like 28, 29. I think it's a $40-ish stock, right? So I've said it numerous times. I'm like, we're on our way, the road to 40. I think it's a $40 stock. If it gets to 40, am I going to sell it? In my head, my answer is no, because I want the vacation money. But I don't know. It's not ride or die. Things change. Altria. I said Alta. Oh my God. Altria and BTI are getting hurt by illegal cigarettes and vapes. If the FDA do its job, they'd be better. Yeah. So the vape business, I've never believed in the vape business. That was one thing. I basically assess no value to the vape business at all. I don't think I did value the I forgot what it's called. It's late. Where it burns the tobacco. One of you is going to say it. So where they have the products where it burns the tobacco at a certain temperature, but it's not burning it. So you don't get the carcinogen supposedly effects of a cigarette. One of you is going to say it and freaking remind me. But so I value that. I don't value vape. I think vape is bullshit, honestly. Yeah, there you go. Smokeless alternative. Yes, this is the thing. I mean, will people do this? See, that's what I think. The tablets are. I think the tablets were the thing. I'm like, that was like the thing. I'm like, that I think is the next step for these companies. The vape thing was a disaster for a lot of them. I mean, this can be a nice little business. I don't hate this business. I don't know how far reaching this is going to get. because this is different, right? Vape is like, to me, vape, I'm talking about the liquid capsules. This is like a cigarette in a special system to hopefully make it a little safer for you. But I think this business is okay. I think the oral tablet business is going to be really cool and do well. So we'll see. And then the last one. So I bet you guys thought I specifically didn't talk about this one because this is my worst performing investment. So some of you probably thought that I was hiding this loss. Maybe it's not a loss for me yet, but it's getting there. So here it is, AGCO. So I did this October. So I wanted, like, I have Caterpillar. I had at the time like Cummins. I like industrial companies. So I saw AGCO. I liked what they were doing, where they were focusing. So you have a European tractor company moving west compared to John Deere, which is a North American company going east. And they're both kind of trying to compete in Latin America, although it's not as great a business. So you have those two competing companies. And I thought that, second of all, AGCO is at a lower valuation than John Deere. And I thought with decarbonization and increased regulation, AGCO had technologies to make their tractors comply with the European Union. So part of my thesis was that they have a competitive advantage in the technology of the engines, that if the government regulations get more strict in America, they will be at a competitive advantage on Deere and they can move west. And then the second part of the thesis was their Trimble merger, where they could increase the margins of their business overall by bringing in a software subscription, right? And then with John Deere, you have to own a John Deere to have John Deere software, and they have their own, automated GPS software. So AGCO was behind in that, and I think they knew it. They were trying to develop it, but I think they were just too small. I think they focused more on the engine part. So they got Trimble, which I wasn't overly excited about the Trimble merger, but I thought, okay, they're still, the ship's still going in the direction I want it. So here we are today, basically. And none of the, like, what's surprising, we'll stay on the surprise idea. Like, I'm not surprised that some of their sales have suffered because interest rates are high. So a lot of this equipment gets bought on loans. So yeah, I'm not particularly that surprised that they've had struggles with sales. So, long term, I'm looking long term with this company. I like the direction it's going. I think there's some hardship in the next year or two that they're going to experience, but there's less people, but still, some of the thesis I have, there's less younger people now, right? Parts of the world are depopulating. The population of the world is getting older. We need more efficient farming methods. So this is a company that's there to benefit from that. So hopefully there's surprises that'll benefit me. So it was funny though, because for a while I bought this, so this is an older investment. I even bought this before here. This was just when I talked about it. I was in it in the summer. I think it was, I have to go back further. Yeah, I was in it I think I was in it here somewhere. I was buying it in the 90s to 106 range when I was buying it. So I'm probably about breaking even at this point. My cost basis, last I looked, it's pretty close. I'm like mid to high 90s cost basis. So at a certain point, it was working out. I felt great about it last year, right? Last year, man, it got up to 135. Thought I was on top of the world. I thought I nailed it. But macro smacks you in the face sometimes. So do I think this is a better business than John Deere? No. So that's why when I did my looking at it, I'm like, okay, if they get to the same valuation of John Deere, what does it look like? And that's where I was like, it's kind of, if it gets to the same valuation of John Deere, this is like a $200 stock. So I don't know. It's not a very big position. I don't really intend to do anything with it. I don't want to buy anymore, particularly. I don't want to sell it. Just something I have right now. So it is what it is. Like I've said before, you don't have to buy the dip every time a stock investment goes a little awry. You don't feel like you have to buy the dip because it comes back down to what you bought it at. You can just not do anything. You don't have to assert your dominance of the market, but I want another shot at it. Yeah, I was hoping it would come down. Like the crap Paul says, like, I don't want my stocks to perform well. I want them to like fall apart so I can buy more. It's like, no, I buy them. I want them to do well. Like, so Philip Morris owns IQs, yeah, US market. In stores, if you crack down illegal vapes, they would protect Altria's growing vape moat. Dan, dump AGCO for Owens Corning. I'm aware of Owens. I've owned Owens Corning in the past, so I'm aware of it. It's a good business. AGCO can still work. I mean, I could certainly buy Owens Corning again. I had it from like 70 to like 100 during COVID. So, don't say that word. So, I mean, I haven't looked at it. Someone asked me about it. I haven't really looked at it since then, but it's a great business. The building supplies business and the more future looking business. They're divesting from grain and protein business, focusing more on technology. See, this is another thing. I like this. I saw that. I did see this story. Similar to what Carrier's doing. Carrier had all these kind of fringe businesses. They had like a fire security business. And the CEO was in a call and he's like, we're focused on, like heat pumps and HVAC equipment. And he's like, that's it. That's the focus of the company. And then you can see he started selling everything that didn't apply to that. And I'm like, that's my man. Friggin', I believe in this. So I like this. Again, this reaffirms what I'm hoping to see. So I like this. They should focus on the tractors and the software and the Trimble technology. But what are the risks? I mean, the Trimble merger could not work. They don't own everything outright. I talked about the Trimble merger in that video. They didn't just flat out buy it. It's kind of a weird, they created this like other company. It wasn't just a clean buy. Stanley Black & Decker is my AGCO, up only 10% in 2 years. Should have kept a full position in Micron. Yeah. I mean, Micron's right. I was hoping it would get to the 90s. But again, like Micron sold out this year. They're sold out next year. So the orders are there. So what are the risks to Micron's business? So you'd have to can their orders get canceled for AMD and NVIDIA? If so, okay, do they get some sort of penalty? How hard is it to cancel these orders? But in the essence, the business is there, right? I guess the things that could affect is like Meta, like what are the unknowns in the next 2 years? I mean, what if Meta just stops these mass buying of GPUs, right? Some earnings maybe next year. Zuckerberg could just say we're reducing our buys. That's stuff like that could just wreck that company. Pumps Marley. What hot garbage? I don't know. What company is that? I'm gonna remember in a second. Oh, I put an L in. What is this? Is this a fertilizer? Wait a minute. Manufacturing engineers, special chemicals, roll operas, 3 segments, energy storage, lithium compounds. I have never I don't do lithium. The only metal I do is copper. Like I did aluminum once with a friend. Alcoa. I've only ever invested in copper. It's the only one that kind of makes sense to me. Yeah, I've not done lithium investing. So, the interesting thing I learned is that when they recycle lithium, it has no deterioration. You can reuse lithium over and over and over again in batteries. So that's kind of interesting. I don't know about the other metals if they deteriorate at all, like the nickel and stuff. Thoughts on MMM with new CEO? People are saying it could be like GE. I really liked that CEO they picked from L3 Harris. I really liked it. I didn't like, the only thing like bugged me. I didn't I wanted to hear them say they were going to do something more along the lines of like Procter and Gamble. They have so many products. I wanted to see them start cutting some of the less profitable stuff and putting, I mean, they did do one divestiture already. So they kind of did a little bit of that, but I have not followed it in a while. So, I mean, it was promising. But then there's always the lawsuits that can come out. None of it was figured out. They had to put a bunch of money aside for litigation. But it was at such a valuation discount. If they showed any improvement in their business, it was bound to do this, right? Because it was just so cheap. If they showed any improvement in sales, like the market instantly rewarded them. So I don't know. But I mean, you can see you had to bag hold this thing for a long time. And this is kind of what I thought. I'm like, there's a high risk of just holding this thing and it does nothing for years. And industrials do this. Industrials just pop, right? I've said this to other times. Industrials will just like be flat, 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 and then they'll just pop all of a sudden one day. And it did it. It's just not interesting to me. It still isn't. I don't know. I don't have anything overly negative, but good CEO pick. Lithium. Okay, so I think those were the last three that I didn't talk about the first video. Yeah. I don't talk about shorting here. If you want to talk about shorting, go to Capital Mindset. So, all right. That's it. Thanks for watching. An hour. Okay. So I have an ETF I want to do. So some of it's interesting, and also the thumbnail is going to be awesome because of the ticker symbol. So that'll come out. It'll be a really short review because there's really not much to talk about with the methodology of this ETF. It's pretty basic. So it'll probably be short. I always say I'm going to get back to book reviews, but I'll be honest, book reviews are freaking tough. Like you got to read the book, write the notes, and then just to discuss it. It's like a pain. I don't have electronic copies of some of my investing books, and I don't want to pay for them. So those might get put on hold for a while. I don't know. Do you guys read books anymore anyways? Is that like a dying breed? But that's it. And thanks for watching. Well, what outro will we do? In honor of SoFi, maybe we do the one and only Anthony Noto. I guess that's the least we can do. Thanks for watching and see you later.